Welcome back to the Racing Mind video series, where we journey deeper into the human mind than anyone has ever gone before. In this video series, we untangle the ancient mystery of mental illness and teach you what you need to know before your racing mind gets the best of you. This groundbreaking series provides answers to some of the deepest mysteries of the human mind and reveals, for the first time in history, the precise cause of mental and emotional illness and the psychophysiological basis of a wide range of psychiatric disorders and associated medical conditions. These educational videos, which present concepts that are so new that they are just beginning to make their way through the medical field, are based on thousands of hours of direct patient analysis and clinical observation in conjunction with the latest research on psychiatric disorders from around the world. In the first video of this series, we introduced the idea that gene variants were the primary predisposing factor for the development of various psychiatric symptoms during the transition from childhood to adulthood and other high-stress periods. In this segment of the series, we will discuss the genetics of neuronal hyperexcitability and how the gene is passed from one generation to another. Neuronal hyperexcitability is passed from the parents to the children in a classic Mendelian distribution. Gregor Mendel was the 19th century Augustinian monk who used pea pods to show that the inheritance distribution of a genetic trait could be predicted by the natural segregation of genes during the process of fertilization. Human beings receive 2 copies of each gene, one from each parent. What you are about to watch is the process of gene duplication and segregation in preparation for sexual reproduction. Each copy of a gene pair is called an allele. Because the alleles from the parents segregate randomly, each child will have a 25% chance of inheriting the gene for neuronal hyperexcitability if one of the parents has one copy of the abnormal gene and the other has none. If both parents have one copy of the abnormal gene, the chances that the child will receive a copy of the abnormal gene from each parent will be 25%, that the child will receive only one copy of the abnormal gene will be 50%, and that the child will not receive the abnormal gene will be 25%. If one parent has 2 copies of the abnormal gene and the other parent has none, each child will inherit one copy of the abnormal gene. If one parent has 2 copies of the abnormal gene and the other parent has one copy of the abnormal gene, there will be a 50% chance that the child will receive 2 copies of the abnormal gene and a 50% chance that the child will receive only one copy of the abnormal gene. However, if both parents have 2 copies of the abnormal gene, all of the children will receive 2 copies of the abnormal gene. There is strong clinical evidence that the inheritance pattern of psychiatric disorders is autosomal dominant. That means that if only one gene for neuronal hyperexcitability is inherited, the neurons will be hyperexcitable. The inheritance pattern is also additive. That means that if 2 genes for neuronal hyperexcitability are inherited, the child's vulnerability to developing a psychiatric disorder will be greater than if only one gene is inherited. It is important to understand that the inheritance of the genes for neuronal hyperexcitability does not necessarily mean that the recipient will manifest a specific set of symptoms or, in some cases, any symptoms at all. Hence, inheritance of the same gene by different family members can manifest as different psychiatric disorders. It can also manifest as different disorders at different times, depending on the severity, duration, and nature of the stress. Which particular symptoms develop and the extent to which they develop depends on a host of other genetic and non-genetic factors, including the unique architecture of the individual's brain, non-shared environmental factors, and the willful choices of the individual. Among these factors, however, inheritance of the genes for neuronal hyperexcitability is by far the most important in determining whether the individual will ever develop a psychiatric disorder. The most effective natural ways to compensate for the gene abnormality include stress reduction, establishment of an early sleep schedule, regular exercise, enjoying a relaxing hobby, avoidance of caffeine and other psychostimulants, and minimization of refined sugar. If these interventions are either too difficult to implement or fail to yield satisfactory improvement, then treatment with anticonvulsants and other brain-calming medications may be necessary, particularly during high-stress periods in the person's life. In addition, cognitive behavioral and other forms of psychotherapy may be needed to reduce the mental tension that adds fuel to the smoldering embers in the hyperexcitable brain. Control your brain, control your life. We hope that you are benefiting from this video series. Portions of this video and others in the series were taken from the books The Racing Mind and Am I Depressed or Am I Bipolar? Those interested in developing a deeper understanding of this topic can also refer to the scientific publication The Multi-Circuit Neuronal Hyperexcitability Hypothesis of Psychiatric Disorders. Please note that these materials in this video series are for educational purposes only and are not intended to guide treatment without formal evaluation. This video series is sponsored by the Binder Foundation, a charitable organization that is dedicated to the enhancement of human life through research and education on disorders of the mind, body, and spirit. If you have found this video to be a benefit to you, please share it with your family and friends. And please don't forget, your feedback is important to us.